Imagine waking up every morning with complete peace, knowing that no matter what happens, you are taken care of. Imagine walking through life without fear, without anxiety, without constantly worrying about whether you'll have enough, whether you're on the right path, or whether you'll make it through the struggles ahead. Imagine living with a sense of unshakable joy, confidence, and purpose. That kind of life isn't reserved for the lucky few. It is available to anyone who dares to trust God completely. But here's the truth. Most people don't. Most people live burdened by stress, controlled by fear, and exhausted from trying to handle everything on their own. They struggle to find peace, always searching for something to fill the emptiness inside. They chase after security and money, success, relationships, or status, only to find that nothing truly satisfies. But those who trust in God fully, who surrender their plans, their worries, and their future into His hands, experience life in a way that others can't even begin to imagine. Tonight, I want to talk about 5 life-changing blessings that only come to those who trust God completely. Because when you let go and put your faith in Him, everything changes. Life is full of uncertainties. No matter how much we plan, prepare, or try to control things, there will always be moments that shake us. Moments where the unexpected happens and fear creeps in. It could be a sudden job loss, a health crisis, a broken relationship, or an opportunity that seemed perfect but suddenly slips away. In times like these, many people panic. They feel lost, overwhelmed, and unsure of what to do next. Anxiety takes over, and their minds become consumed with worry about the future. But for those who trust God completely, there is a different reality. When a person places their full trust in God, they receive a peace that goes beyond human understanding. It is not a peace that depends on circumstances. It is not a peace that only exists when life is going well. It is a peace that remains steady even in the face of chaos. This kind of peace is supernatural because it comes from knowing that God is in control, no matter what is happening around them. While the world reacts to trouble with fear and stress, a person who trusts in God can stand firm, knowing that nothing catches him by surprise. One of the most powerful aspects of this peace is that it does not require a person to have all the answers. It does not require them to see the full picture or understand how things will work out. It simply requires faith, a deep, unshakable belief that God is faithful and that He will take care of them. This trust allows a person to sleep at night when others are lying awake with worry. It allows them to smile in the middle of difficulty, not because they are ignoring reality, but because they know a greater reality exists. God is working behind the scenes, even when they cannot see it. Throughout history, there are countless stories of people who have experienced this kind of peace because they trusted in God completely. Think about someone who faced financial hardship but chose to trust God instead of giving in to fear. They continued to be faithful, to pray, and to believe that God would provide. And somehow, in ways they never expected, help came at just the right time. It could have been an unexpected opportunity, a door that suddenly opened, or even the kindness of someone they never anticipated. They could have spent their days worrying and stressing, but instead, they walked in peace, knowing that God was their provider. Another example is those who have faced serious health challenges, but remained strong in their faith. While fear could have overtaken them, they chose to rest in God's promises. They believed that whether healing came instantly, over time, or in a way they did not expect, God was still in control. Instead of letting worry consume them, they focused on prayer, on gratitude, and on the assurance that they were not alone. That peace gave them strength when others might have broken down. Even in the darkest moments of life, this peace remains. When a loved one passes away, grief is natural. The pain is real, and the loss is deeply felt. But for those who trust in God, there is also an unshakable assurance that this life is not the end. They know that God is a God of restoration, and while the loss may be painful, they are held in His hands. This peace does not erase sadness, but it allows a person to move forward, to heal, and to find hope even in sorrow. The world chases peace in many ways, through success, financial security, relationships, and distractions. But all of these things are temporary. The only peace that lasts, the only peace that remains steady no matter what, is a peace that comes from trusting God completely. It is a peace that cannot be taken away by circumstances, because it is rooted in something far greater than the things of this world. It is rooted in a truth that God is in control, that He is faithful, and that He will never abandon those who trust in Him. Life is full of decisions, both big and small. Every day, people are faced with choices that shape their future. Decisions about careers, relationships, finances, health, and personal growth. Some choices seem clear, while others feel overwhelming. Many people struggle with uncertainty, questioning whether they are making the right move or heading in the right direction. They analyze every possible outcome, seek advice from others, and sometimes even make decisions out of fear or pressure. But for those who trust God completely, there is a different way to approach life's uncertainties. They do not rely solely on their own understanding or logic. Instead, they surrender their decisions to God, knowing that He sees what they cannot see and knows what is best for them. When a person places their trust in God, they receive divine guidance that brings clarity even in the most confusing moments. This guidance does not always come in dramatic ways. Sometimes it is a gentle nudge in their spirit, a deep sense of peace about a certain choice, or a door that opens at just the right time. Other times it comes through circumstances that seem to push them in a specific direction. While the world tells people to depend only on what makes sense to them, those who trust God know that His ways are higher than theirs. They understand that human wisdom is limited, but God sees the full picture. Many times, people make decisions based on what feels good in the moment or what seems logical according to their own knowledge. But trusting God means recognizing that not every opportunity is the right one, and that some paths may look good, but are not meant to be taken. When a person fully relies on God, they are willing to wait on His timing instead of rushing into something that may not be for them. They pray, they seek His direction, and they remain sensitive to His leading. And when they do this, they find themselves walking into doors they never imagined, experiencing blessings they never expected, and avoiding mistakes that could have led them down the wrong path. A person who trusts in God also learns to recognize when He is redirecting them. Sometimes people hold on to plans that are not aligned with God's will, trying to force things to happen in their own strength. They may pursue a job, a relationship, or a dream that seems right, only to find themselves facing closed doors, disappointment, or frustration. But those who trust in God understand that when something does not work out, it is not rejection. It is redirection. God is protecting them from something that is not meant for them and guiding them towards something greater. Instead of fighting against what is not working, they surrender and allow Him to lead them to what He has prepared. Trusting God completely also means being willing to step out in faith, even when the next step is unclear. Many people wait for perfect conditions before making a move, fearing the unknown. But those who trust in God do not need to have all the answers before taking a step forward. They know that as long as they are seeking Him, He will make their path clear. It may not always happen immediately, and they may not always understand everything at once, but they have confidence that God will not lead them astray. Their trust in Him allows them to move forward with boldness, knowing that He is guiding their steps. There are countless stories of people who have experienced this divine guidance in their lives. Some have been led to opportunities they never thought possible. Others have been protected from making choices that would have brought unnecessary hardship. Some have received clear direction in moments of uncertainty, finding peace in decisions that once seemed impossible. This kind of clarity is not something that can be found by human reasoning alone. It is a blessing given only to those who trust in God completely. Provision is one of the greatest concerns for most people. Whether it is financial security, daily needs, or future stability, many live in a constant state of worry about having enough. Some work tirelessly, fearing that if they slow down, everything will fall apart. Others stress over unexpected expenses, wondering how they will make it through. This anxiety can consume a person's thoughts, leading to sleepless nights and a heart weighed down by fear. But for those who trust God completely, there is a different reality. They do not live with a scarcity mindset, fearing that they will run out or be left without. Instead, they walk in confidence, knowing that God is their provider, and He will supply all their needs in ways beyond their understanding. When a person fully relies on God, they begin to see provision as something that is not just dependent on their own efforts, but on His faithfulness. This does not mean they stop working hard or being responsible, but it does mean they no longer carry the burden alone. They understand that their job, business, or any other source of income is just a channel through which God provides, but He is the ultimate source. Even when one source dries up, they do not fall into despair because they know that God is not limited to a single way of providing. He can open new doors, create unexpected opportunities, and bless them through means they never anticipated. There are countless stories of people who have experienced this supernatural provision. Some have faced financial hardship with no visible way out, yet, in the perfect timing, the exact amount they needed arrived. It may have come through an unexpected gift, a job opportunity, or even a sudden debt cancellation. Others have been in situations where resources seemed limited, but somehow what they had stretched far beyond what was logically possible. These moments are not coincidences. They are evidence of God's hand at work in the lives of those who trust Him. One of the most remarkable aspects of God's provision is that it is not only about money or material things. It also includes strength, wisdom, and opportunity. There are people who may not have the qualifications or connections for a certain position, yet they find themselves in places of influence because God opened the door for them. Others may lack the experience needed for a task, but when they step forward in faith, they are given the knowledge and ability to succeed. This kind of provision defies logic and shows that God is not bound by human limitations. Trusting in God's provision also brings freedom from the fear of lack. Many people live in a cycle of fear, always worrying about the future. What if the economy collapses? What if they lose their job? What if they do not have enough to retire? But those who trust in God do not live in constant anxiety about the what-ifs. They understand that even if circumstances change, God does not. He remains the same yesterday, today, and forever, and He is always faithful to take care of His children. This trust allows them to be generous, knowing that giving does not lead to lack, but invites even greater blessings. They do not hoard out of fear, but give freely, believing that God's supply is endless. There is also peace that comes from knowing that God's provision is not based on performance. Some people believe they have to strive and work tirelessly to earn His blessings. But those who trust Him understand that His provision is a reflection of His love and faithfulness. It is not something they have to chase or manipulate. It is something that flows naturally in their lives as they walk in obedience and faith. They do not waste time worrying about how things will work out because they know that as long as they are trusting Him, He will provide exactly what is needed, exactly when it is needed. Adversity is something no one can escape in life. At some point, everyone faces challenges, hardships, and moments of deep struggle. It could be a personal failure, a financial setback, the loss of a loved one, a serious illness, or an unexpected crisis that turns life upside down. In those moments, many people feel overwhelmed, lost, and completely drained. Some give up. Others become bitter, and many live in constant fear of what might happen next. However, for those who trust God completely, adversity does not destroy them. It strengthens them. They are not consumed by their difficulties because they know that their strength does not come from themselves, but from God. When a person fully places their trust in God, they begin to see trials from a different perspective. Instead of viewing hardships as obstacles meant to break them, they recognize that challenges can be used for growth. They understand that God is always working, even in difficult seasons, shaping them into who they are meant to be. This does not mean they do not feel pain or struggle with emotions, but it does mean that they do not let hardship define them. They do not fall into despair because they believe that even in suffering, there is purpose. One of the most powerful aspects of trusting God during adversity is the supernatural strength that comes with it. Many people who face extreme hardships often wonder how they will make it through, but those who trust in God find a strength within them that they never knew existed. It is not their own strength, it is God sustaining them, giving them the endurance to keep moving forward. They may not understand why they are going through a certain trial, but they know that they are not walking through it alone. They rely on God's promises, reminding themselves that He will never leave them nor forsake them. That assurance gives them the courage to keep pressing on even when everything around them says they should give up. History is filled with examples of people who have endured unimaginable suffering and yet came out stronger because of their faith in God. Some have faced financial ruin, but saw God open new doors they never expected. Others have battled severe illness, but experienced miraculous healing, or found a renewed purpose through their pain. Some have lost everything, yet they were later restored in ways they could not have imagined. These stories are not coincidences. They are testimonies of how trusting God completely allows a person to rise above circumstances instead of being crushed by them. Another blessing that comes with trusting God in adversity is resilience. People who depend on their own strength often reach a breaking point, but those who rely on God are able to keep going no matter how heavy the burden. They learn to persevere, to keep their faith even when the road is difficult. They understand that trials are temporary, and even when the situation does not change immediately, they have the patience to endure. Their faith becomes stronger because they see firsthand how God carries them through. Trusting God in adversity also brings a deep sense of peace. Many people experience anxiety and fear when they face the unknown, but those who trust in God do not live in constant worry. They do not let fear control them because they believe that God is in control. They rest in the knowledge that even when life does not make sense, God has a plan. That peace allows them to focus on what truly matters instead of being consumed by fear and uncertainty. Another remarkable thing about trusting God in hardship is that it often leads to personal transformation. Many people who go through difficult seasons come out with a greater sense of purpose. They develop compassion for others who are struggling, wisdom that can only be gained through experience, and a deeper understanding of who they are. Their faith is no longer based on what they have heard from others, but on what they have personally seen God do in their lives. They become living examples of how God's strength is made perfect in weakness. True joy is something that many people spend their entire lives chasing. They search for it in success, wealth, relationships, and personal achievements, believing that once they reach a certain milestone, they will finally be happy. Some think joy will come when they get the perfect job, buy the dream home, or receive recognition from others. Others seek it in entertainment, material possessions, or temporary pleasures. But despite all their efforts, many still feel empty. They may experience brief moments of happiness, but it quickly fades, leaving them longing for something more. However, for those who trust God completely, joy is not dependent on external circumstances. It is not something that comes and goes based on what is happening around them. Instead, it is a deep, lasting state of being that remains even in the face of hardship. When a person places their full trust in God, they begin to experience joy that is unshakable. This kind of joy is not based on fleeting emotions, but on the confidence that they are loved, guided, and cared for by God. It comes from knowing that no matter what happens, they are secure in His hands. While the world associates joy with success and comfort, those who trust God understand that true joy is found in His presence. They do not need everything to be perfect to experience joy because they have something greater than temporary circumstances. They have a relationship with the one who never changes. One of the most powerful aspects of this joy is that it remains even in difficult times. Many people assume that joy can only exist when life is going well. But those who trust God know that joy is possible even in the midst of trials. They may face loss, disappointment, or setbacks, but their joy is not shaken because it is rooted in something eternal. While others may fall into despair when things do not go as planned, those who trust in God find reasons to rejoice because they know that He is working everything for their good. Their joy is not blind optimism or denial of reality. It is the deep assurance that they are never alone and that God's promises will always be fulfilled. This kind of joy also transforms the way a person views life. Instead of constantly worrying about what they do not have or what could go wrong, they develop a heart of gratitude. They begin to see blessings in the small things, appreciating each day as a gift. They find joy in moments that others might overlook: a kind word, a sunrise, a moment of peace. Their hearts are not weighed down by stress and negativity because they choose to focus on the goodness of God rather than the uncertainties of life. This gratitude does not come from having a perfect life, but from recognizing that even in imperfection, there is beauty. Another remarkable aspect of the joy that comes from trusting God is that it is contagious. People who walk in this kind of joy radiate peace and positivity, even in difficult times. They become a source of encouragement to those around them, inspiring others to trust God as well. Their joy is not based on superficial things, so it does not disappear when challenges arise. Instead, it grows stronger, becoming a testimony of how faith in God changes a person's entire outlook on life. Trusting God also frees a person from the pressure of constantly trying to control everything. Many people struggle with anxiety because they feel the need to plan every detail of their lives. They fear the unknown and worry about what the future holds. But those who trust in God find joy in surrender. They do not carry the burden of trying to make everything happen on their own, because they know that God is in control. This trust allows them to live with a sense of peace and contentment, enjoying life rather than being consumed by stress and worry. There is a difference between happiness and true joy. Happiness depends on what is happening in the moment, but joy that comes from God remains steady no matter what. Those who trust Him completely are not constantly chasing the next thing in hopes of feeling fulfilled. They have already found fulfillment in Him. Their joy is not temporary. It is deep, unshakable, and everlasting. One of the greatest blessings given to those who trust God completely is the assurance of His divine purpose in their lives. Many people go through life feeling lost, uncertain about their future, and unsure of their true calling. They chase after success, wealth, or the approval of others, believing that these things will give them a sense of meaning. Yet, even after achieving their goals, they often find themselves feeling empty, wondering if there is something more. Without a deeper purpose, life can feel like an endless cycle of work, responsibilities, and unfulfilled dreams. But for those who trust God fully, life is not a random series of events. It is a journey directed by His divine plan, filled with purpose, meaning, and fulfillment. When a person surrenders their life to God, they begin to understand that they were created for something greater than just existing. They were not placed on this earth by accident, nor are their experiences meaningless. Every joy, every struggle, every opportunity, and every setback is part of a greater picture that God is painting. Even when things do not make sense at the moment, those who trust Him know that He is weaving together the pieces of their life for a greater purpose. They no longer live with confusion about their direction because they have faith that God is leading them exactly where they are meant to be. Many people spend years searching for their purpose, trying different paths, switching careers, or following trends, hoping to find what truly fulfills them. But when a person puts their trust in God, they no longer need to chase after the things of the world to find meaning. Instead, they seek God's guidance, knowing that He has already designed a perfect plan for their life. They begin to see doors open in unexpected ways, opportunities arise that they never imagined, and gifts within them being used in ways they never thought possible. Their purpose is not something they have to force. It unfolds naturally as they walk in obedience and faith. One of the most powerful aspects of trusting in God's purpose is the peace that comes with it. Many people live in constant anxiety about whether they are making the right choices, fearing that one wrong step will ruin their future. But those who trust God do not live in fear of making mistakes. They understand that even if they take a wrong turn, God's grace will redirect them. They do not have to stress over every decision because they believe that as long as they seek Him, He will guide their steps. This trust removes the pressure of trying to figure everything out on their own and allows them to move forward with confidence. Another remarkable blessing of trusting in God's purpose is the ability to endure hardships with a greater perspective. Life is not without difficulties, but when a person knows that their struggles are part of a bigger plan, they can persevere with strength and hope. They do not see challenges as pointless suffering, but as lessons, growth opportunities, and stepping stones toward their destiny. Even in moments of pain, they trust that God is using their experiences to shape them into the person they are meant to become. Instead of becoming bitter or discouraged, they hold on to faith, knowing that every difficulty has a purpose. Trusting in God's purpose also brings a deep sense of fulfillment. Many people achieve great things but still feel empty inside because they are not walking in the calling that God has placed on their life. But when a person follows God's plan, they experience a kind of joy and satisfaction that nothing else can provide. They wake up each day with passion and excitement, knowing that what they are doing matters. Their work, relationships, and daily activities are no longer just routine tasks, but part of a divine assignment. They live with enthusiasm because they know they are making a difference in ways that extend beyond themselves. A person who trusts in God's purpose also inspires others. When people see someone walking confidently in their calling, full of joy and assurance, it encourages them to seek their own purpose as well. Those who trust in God become a light to others, showing them what it means to live a life of meaning and faith. They do not live selfishly or aimlessly, but with intentionality, making choices that align with God's will. Their faith and trust in God's plan become a testimony to those around them, drawing others closer to Him. The beauty of trusting in God's purpose is that it provides an unshakable foundation. The world is constantly changing, and what may seem important today can be irrelevant tomorrow. But a life built on God's purpose is steady and secure. It is not dependent on trends, opinions, or external success. It is rooted in something eternal. Those who trust in God do not live with regret, wondering if they missed their chance or wasted their potential. They know that every season of their life, past, present, and future, is being used for something greater. They embrace every step of the journey, knowing that God's plan for them is good, perfect, and beyond anything they could have imagined. At the end of the day, life is filled with uncertainty, challenges, and moments where we feel like we're not enough. The world will tell you to rely on yourself, to chase after security, to seek joy in temporary things. But the truth is, real peace, real strength, real joy, and real purpose can only be found in trusting God completely. When you trust Him, you stop living in fear because you know He is your protector. You stop worrying about provision because you know He is your provider. You stop being crushed by adversity because you know He gives you strength. You stop chasing happiness in things that don't last because you experience the deep joy that comes from knowing Him. And above all, you stop feeling lost, unsure of your purpose, because you know your life is part of His perfect plan. The greatest blessings in life are not found in what we can do for ourselves, but in what God does for those who fully trust Him. So the question is, will you let go? Will you surrender the need to control everything and trust the one who holds everything in His hands? Because when you do, you will experience a life that is richer, fuller, and more powerful than anything you could have ever imagined,